Communication and Nationalism. My Question, My Mark, by Mark Edmonds. Let's start with why communication is important. Communication has provided humanity with the means to interact and share ideas. It has allowed us to collaborate and spread our thoughts. Our basic need to belong and relate to one another are only possible through effective communication. Communication is the backbone of humanity's prosperity and dominance on Earth. Next, let's look at the history of human communication in order to understand the future. The first modern form of communication was verbal communication. Verbal communication allowed humans to form small groups of people banding together for survival. Our connections with others extended as far as our voices. Tribalism arose out of our ability to verbally communicate. Humanity then moved to written communication. Around 30,000 BCE, we began creating wall carvings and paintings. 25,000 years later, humans created the first organized writing systems, allowing people to transcend their own time. A more organized form of writing came about around 2000 BCE, now known as the alphabet. Written communication allowed people to form civilizations and larger units of people. The first road was constructed around 4000 BCE. Roads allowed messages to be relayed more quickly across long distances. The Silk Road extended from Europe to Asia, increasing our understanding of our species while increasing the world economy. The Roman Empire built the most famous ancient road network. These roads stretched for 78,000 kilometers and reached northern Africa. These extensive networks made communication between different people easier and more efficient. Humanity then moved to more versatile communication with the invention of paper in 100 CE. Paper allowed messages to be relayed easier than its previous rock counterparts. Paper also gave way to publications such as newspapers and books. Around 1440 CE, Gutenberg released his printing press. The printing press revolutionized the speed at which humans could print. It also allowed for large-scale distribution of any writing, making it much easier to spread ideas to the masses. This allowed centralized, uniform ideas and messages to stretch from continent to continent. In 1837, the telegraph machine was invented. The telegraph made communication across continents instant compared to the previous methods. The world suddenly became extremely interconnected, and nationalism began booming as a result. The telephone took the telegraph a step further. The telephone further increased our range to communicate. It made the communication speed of the telegraph usable for all. Radio gave way to mass messaging. It allowed governments and people to get messages out to the masses with incredible speed and coverage. It tied families to the messages broadcasted. This encouraged unity among those listening. An example of the power the radio possessed was the World of Worlds broadcast. Many people actually believed that Earth was being invaded by aliens because a voice on the radio said so, even though they saw no evidence of such an event. Communication mediums extended further beyond the natural range of our senses. TV took the idea of a radio and added visuals. This added a level of personal relation that the voice of a radio couldn't provide. People could relate to the characters they saw on TV, which made people connect further with the ideas presented in the shows. This allowed people to extend themselves to larger and broader ideas. The cell phone changed when people could communicate globally. With the cell phone, a call was no longer restricted to location, and a person's location no longer restricted a person's ability to answer. This made everyone available almost all of the time. As cell phones took hold internationally, communication across nations was not only possible, but possible anytime, anywhere, on the fly. This made our world seem even smaller. However, nationalism still held strong despite our interconnectedness with the world. The internet changed everything. It allows us to combine almost every other form of communication into one central system. Voice, text, and mass messaging are now possible with every country on Earth. The vast amount of content that is available every hour of every day allows us to extend our empathy to every culture, every country, and every person. Our connectedness is demonstrated by this map of the internet from 2003. The internet has only gotten larger and more integrated with the world since then. So, where does this leave humanity? We are able to communicate instantly with every corner of the globe, and the networks and routes of communication are growing every day. This privilege allows us to relate with all humans, however nationalism still stands strong. Which leads me to wonder if, through our increased connectedness, nationalism will fall and be replaced by a global viewing community. Our central nervous system can be extended to every member of the human species. This makes me believe that we will one day put aside our differences. But when and how? Can nationalism fall with the incredibly uneven distribution of wealth? I've thought about these questions for some time now and would love to spend a summer researching whether our extended empathy can one day end nationalism and replace it with globalism. At first glance, this question might appear to be ambiguous and baffling, but at a closer look there is solid, Quantitative data that can be compiled to answer my question. How many emails, text, phone calls, and business deals are made annually between parties in different countries? How does a widespread ease of data sharing impact and empower the masses, influence political posturing, and increase crisis intervention? Analyzing data from multiple years would show growth patterns and identify trends. This would provide clear insight into how connected we are with one another, and if, at all, nationalism might be threatened by this connectedness. I am fascinated by the way the internet, social media, and other forms of communication may impact our future relationships on a global scale. Think of the recent events in Tunisia and Egypt. Governments were toppled by people unifying through social media. Consider the impact on diversity and acceptance as we now consider it normal to invite people halfway around the world into our living rooms via video chatting and online gaming. Regardless of origin, culture, or location, is it possible to live our lives together? Will our increased connectedness lead to the fall of nationalism and the rise of globalism? That is my question, my mark.